Good morning. I'm Dan Haug. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Ames. As I was saying, we're doing a cooperative this summer, bringing you services from other UU churches around the Midwest. And again, this week from Reverend Rose Maldonado Schwab at the Shawnee Mission UU Church in Lenexa, Kansas. Please, if you're visiting, encourage you to stay on after the service so we can get to know you better. We go into breakout rooms for some small group discussion and then reconvene in the larger group. And we'll get this started.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Midwest Prairie Summer Service Co-op for 2021. As our congregations begin planning to reopen in-person gatherings this fall after our long pandemic separation, we take this opportunity for a series of virtual visits with some of our neighboring UU churches over the summer weeks. Each Sunday, you are invited to experience inspirational messages from a variety of our ministers, together with music and other elements that make our communities special. We hope that this morning's service will engage your thoughts and lift your spirits, giving you courage to make a difference in the world and helping to strengthen the connections that sustain us all.
Good morning, and welcome to Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Rose, the minister here at Smooch. It is a joy to see you and an honor to be broadcast into your homes. Today, on Earth Day, we celebrate our beautiful and sacred earth. Let us begin with a moment of centering, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, setting your own little intention for this hour. Come, let us worship. It's chalice lighting time! All you need is a candle, a spark, and some sort of special chalice.
And some parental supervision.
Before we light our chalice, we'd like to show you a glimpse of what the sanctuary looks like during COVID times. You will see a wall of chairs that we've constructed as a sound barrier and our beautiful original wooden ceiling. Please join me in affirming that love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another.
All organisms depend on others to survive. But some take their relationships with other species to extremes. When different species live in very close association with each other, it's called symbiosis. When this relationship is beneficial to both organisms, it's known as mutualism. Mutualism can be seen in most ecosystems and between all sorts of organisms. Plants and fungi, animals and plants, or between different animals. In this coral reef ecosystem, clownfish live closely with sea anemones, animals that use their stinging tentacles to catch prey. The anemone releases chemicals into the water to attract the clownfish, which is protected from the lethal sting of the anemone by a protective mucus coating. This allows the clownfish to live in the safety of the anemone's tentacles, protected from predators. In exchange, the clownfish drives off intruders, like the butterfly fish, stopping them from eating the anemone. In the same ecosystem, another mutualistic relationship exists between the goby fish and pistol shrimp. The shrimp digs and cleans a burrow in the sand, in which the goby lives and lays its eggs. The pistol shrimp has poor vision. Whilst the shrimp is digging, the goby keeps watch. It touches the shrimp with its tail to warn it of approaching predators, and both retreat into their burrow. Mutualism can produce surprising relationships and strong interdependence between species, each helping the other so that both can survive.
Hi, Sharky. Hi, Sealy.
Hi, Mr.
Hi,
Cruz.
everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Guess what?
What?
We went to the pantry.
We went to the pantry.
I'm so excited that you guys went to the pantry
Yeah, it
with
was
us.
so much
It
fun.
was so much fun.
Please tell me about it. Tell everybody about it.
Well, okay, so first we get there and we set up the tents, and you get to talk to people, and we're all wearing our masks, and then we just get the food out and we have to weigh it, and we just just get ready, and then we give the food out.
Yeah, I did not eat any
Yay!
No
Good
people.
job, Sharky.
people. No people at all.
Okay.
I only ate something else.
What
Yeah,
did you
well,
do?
there's this part of the pantry where you stand in front of the cooler, or hover in Sharky's case, and you hand out the, chickens.
I could not help myself. I ate all the chickens.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All of the
Yeah.
chickens.
Well, at least you didn't eat any people.
That is, I'm very proud of myself.
I'm proud of you, too. Sounds like you may not have been as scared.
No, actually, and now I like helping.
Yay! That's so exciting to hear.
Yes,
Did
yes.
you hear that, Celia?
I know, it's like as Sharky kept on saying after he ate all the chickens, helping is like chicken soup for the soul.
Yes, raw chickens for the soul.
I miss church so much.
I miss it too, and I
Yeah.
wish, Sharky, you could come to church in person and see how fun and awesome it is. But when I volunteer at the garden or at the food pantry, it does feel like we're in service in community together, and that's what UU practice is all about.
Yeah, I felt so glad to show it to my friend Sharky.
Yes, yes, it was a wonderful and delicious time. Chicken was good, but I prefer tuna.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It reminds me of my favorite actress,
Ooh, who's your favorite actress?
Tuna Thurman.
Tuna Thurman.
Sharky, you're so
Oh.
silly. How about next time we bring some more friends to volunteer in our community?
Do you guys
Yes,
want to
yes.
come with us?
Yeah,
Yes,
let's
kids.
invite our friends.
It's outside and we wear all those masks and it's safe.
So safe.
So safe.
Now that I don't eat people, I will help keep you safe.
Well, hopefully we'll see you.
See you soon.
Bye, kids.
Bye.
Now's the time in our service where we share the milestones in our lives, things important in our lives that are giving us joy or sorrow or appreciation. If you have a milestone to share, please unmute your microphone, introduce yourself, and then when you're finished, please let us know so that we don't talk over one another. This is our time of sharing.
I will share a milestone, and that relates to our ministry this morning, Rose Schwab. Rose Schwab was actually born into this fellowship many years ago. She arrived on the same day that Reverend Sidney Morris had her second sermon during her visiting week. And she arrived on her older brother Arthur's birthday. Becky Rose and Mike Schwab were members of the fellowship for quite a few years until employment took them elsewhere. But it's very meaningful to me to have Rose here today giving the service. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dennis Willeen, and my wife Cindy and I were able to travel to Pennsylvania and Kentucky the last 2 weeks, where we visited my daughter Emily and also a daughter Linnea in Kentucky. And we had not seen them in a year and a half, and it was a very enjoyable time. So it's good that we're able to get out again to visit loved ones. That's all.
Hello, can I speak? It's Kathy Hickok.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I'm a former member of the church, and some of you may know this already, but I just wanted to report that my son, Nancy's son, David, is in Ithaca, New York now, where he's beginning a 5-year PhD program in plant genetics and plant breeding. So we're very proud of him and very pleased for him. That's all.
I will hop in and say that he is going to Cornell University.
Let us have a moment of silent meditation for those milestones spoken as well as those left unsaid, those we carry quietly in our hearts. It is good to be together.
Teach the children. We don't matter so much, but the children do. Show them daisies and the pale hepatica. Teach them the taste of sassafras and wintergreen, the lives of the blue sailors, mallow, sunburst, and moccasin flowers, and the frisky ones, inkberry, lamb's quarters, blueberry, and the aromatic ones, rosemary and oregano. Give them peppermint to put in their pockets as they go to school. Give them the fields and the woods and the possibility of the world salvaged from the lords of profit. Stand them in the stream, head them upstream, and rejoice as they learn to love this green space they live in, its sticks and leaves, and then the silent, beautiful blossoms. Attention is the beginning of devotion.
Nearly 200 years ago, Charles Darwin made his famous trip from England to the Galapagos Islands of Ecuador, a tropical cluster which teemed with life. 9,000 different species woven together in a web of interdependence. Birds with every length of beak, fish of every color, insects of every size. When humans were introduced to these lush islands, they found thousands upon thousands of the world's largest tortoises, which can grow up to 6 feet long and weigh a ton. They live to be up to 150 years, and they themselves are called Galapagos, which means tortoises. Of course, the Galapagos tortoises are now endangered, and the ones who do live no longer live to be 150 or so big. Without their web of life around them, they do not do as well. Darwin's science played a pivotal role in the popular understanding of evolutionary biology. Basically, he introduced a branching pattern of evolution which resulted from a process he called natural selection, governed by what he called the struggle for existence. These fundamental principles were a powerful commentary, of course, not just on the science world, but also on the world of religion. Thus, he spoke not only to biology, but he also smashed a significant hole in the world of the origin of the species. And so we often find both science and religion are speaking to the very crux of our deepest questions, the questions of our origins, our humanity, the interdependent web of all life itself, and how we should relate to it. Indeed, both science and religion touch on some of our deepest and most fundamental and evocative questions. What is our place in the universe? How did the earth come to be? What are humans? How do we coexist as humans with each other and with the rest of the ecosystem? And what are we called to do on this earth? How should we be with the interdependent web of all life? Now, we UUs don't have that same tension between evolution and religion because the mysteries of the natural world hold many of the answers we need to our spiritual questions. And we have no problem seeing within the branching of the species the veins in the leaf, seeing in the patterns of the watershed the great patterns of life running underneath our own skin. This is the makings of something called an eco-theology, which is the wedding of the spiritual and the natural. Eco-theology asks us to reevaluate our relationship with nature, seek to move us forward from the environmental degradation cycles in which we currently live, and open us up to a resacralization of nature, a recovery of some of the fundamental truths we have lost, and to move us away from some of Darwin's greatest mistakes. Darwin was a scientist. Scientists make observations and then they postulate on the pattern that they're seeing. Take, for example, a bird with a particular beak. Darwin interpreted this evolution as an example of what he called survival of the fittest. He saw the special beaks and he interpreted that this bird was able to outcompete the other birds and therefore had found success due to its own fitness. But this was Darwin's first mistake. For the myth of the iconic individual, the Lone Ranger, the cutthroat ethos that it's rough out here, the idea that the violence of life is natural and that brutality is an underlying truth were fundamental for Darwin. He believed that competition was the very fundamental part of how we succeed. Now, this may seem to make sense, but as we unpack his theories further, we see that he was interpreting the data from the standpoint of individual species, when in fact, as one scientist puts it, individuals and species flourish by evolving ways of supporting mutual survival. Let's go back and look at the bird with its very special beak again. It could be explained also that a bird developed a beak which lets it feed on some part of the plant that the other birds can't reach, which introduces diversity into the population's diet, reducing the strain on a particular food supply and leading to more for all. What of the poor plant, you ask? The birds, much like the bees, are helping the plant by spreading its seeds after eating the fruit. Indeed, Darwin accredited success to competition rather than collaboration. He missed a huge opportunity to lift up the network, which is what's actually responsible for the wellness of any individual or species. And in doing so, he cemented a very dangerous idea in our minds, which has infiltrated our world and probably your thinking about the natural course of things, about who wins and why and how. We humans are fundamentally communal creatures, and our success can almost entirely be attributed to our ability to feel empathy, care for each other, live in groups, and share responsibilities. Even though it is obvious that we as humans have survived because we are able to collaborate, still Darwin's theories of competition seeped into the ever more and more popular ideas of social Darwinism. And unfortunately, Darwin and many people of his time applied the theory of natural selection to not just the flora and fauna, but to the human population as well. Darwin believed things like, and I quote, that there should be open competition for all men, and the most able should not be prevented by laws or customs from succeeding in best in rearing the largest number of offspring. Okay, it's getting a little bit suspect and ableist, but he also said that the weak in mind and body are soon eliminated. He even said that vaccinations were a mixed bag because it lets the weak people survive. Okay, we're getting into some of the deeper issues with this guy, whose theories, I remind you, were wildly popular. But the quote which strikes me the most is that he said that it is not by principles of humanity that people are able to preserve themselves, but solely by means of the most brutal struggle. He didn't say this about animals, he said this about people. He was praising brutal competition as the form of survival in our species, even though we are fundamentally social, empathetic, and spiritual beings. These principles of natural selection, as you can imagine, were soon and eagerly, and to his approval, used to bolster and explain a racially based caste system, where there are ideal specimens and the natural elimination of the weak. His own apologism for supremacy systems has been destructive and so divisive to the human community on a large scale. Think about it. His name is widely known, his science incredibly popular, and yet, are you actually surprised to learn that Darwin believed that the white race was more advanced and that because on average men's brains are bigger, they were smarter? Now, I refuse to repeat some of the things I read in researching this sermon, the ways that this principle of survival of the fittest has been used to degrade and dehumanize Black and brown and Jewish people in the world, but I don't have to repeat it because we see this brutal spirit of competition every which way we look, even today. Firstly, we see it in how the Trump-era refugee restrictions were held strong this week, allowing just 15,000 people a year to immigrate to our country. Imagine that you went through a small town on a road trip that said a city had 15,000 people in it. You'd be like, this is a fairly small town. Why are we, the United States, stooping to this minimal level of support for people to find safety and a home here? What myth of scarcity and brutal competition would result in us cutting ourselves off from mutual aid with the rest of the world? Remember, there is enough land, water, and air to feed, clothe, and support the lives of every single person and animal on this planet at this moment. So why is there a sense that this nation can only survive through brutal tactics? Why are people still being kept in detention centers? You don't have to keep kids in cages. You don't even have to detain people at the border. What's this sense of competition really? And how does it tear us apart? Again, we've seen the survival of the fittest in the murder trial we just went through for 4 weeks, even though we all saw it happen. The man with his knee on the neck of another makes him the strongest and the bestest and the winner. That it's somehow natural that some people or some races and some species survive through their own fitness and brutality is that big mistake that we are still suffering from today. It's such a big mistake that it has and will continue to have devastating effects on us as a globe, as environmental stewards, as the beloved community, if we remain chained to such a fearful and scarce mindset. Because get this, even beyond the disturbing ways that these principles have been applied to humans, survival of the fittest isn't even the fullness of how it works in the natural world. As we showed before, it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the most symbiotic. It's the survival of the most connected. It's the survival of the whole. It's survival of those who get on a deep, deep level that if we destroy the other, we destroy ourselves. That anytime we dispose of the other, we tear that interdependent web a little bit more. For even the lion knows to respect the healthy antelopes as a partner in her own survival. Even the very beak of the bird leaves space for the wellness of the other species. Even the giant Galapagos tortoises are dependent on the tiny birds who clean them. and those tiny birds reliant upon the tortoises for food. We must move past these brutal and disturbing interpretations of what is natural for people and what is success for people, and instead raise up what is the most natural and successful thing in the world, which is to build networks of support. This is what we do here at church. We create a community where it is so much less likely that someone will fall through the cracks, where we seek to acknowledge the ways that these disturbing ideas of superiority infiltrate us in our norms, because we know that it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the whole. We know that we humans have survived for so long because we are collaborators, because we do lift up those who struggle. We don't leave the elderly, those who are crying out to be heard. It is through our humanity that we survive. We actually are hardwired to keep each other and even other species alive. There's so many stories. The story of the man who at the last second dove onto the subway tracks to cover the body of someone having a seizure. And when asked how he could have said that, he said, "I didn't even think." Or the story that recently happened in Florida, where 2 adults had gone out to save a child who was too far, and one of the grown-ups got stranded. And so the strangers on the beach immediately formed a human chain and brought them back to shore. These are our instincts, not brutality. We are naturally good. We are instinctively loving. Our willingness to know the other and find collaboration is how we have gotten to this point. We can even extend this sense of shared survival with the natural world. And this, all of our abilities to collaborate with each other as a globe, this will be our way forward to caring for the earth. For as we develop our own eco-theologies, as we root out ways within ourselves to find the theories of supremacy which inform our feelings and ourselves about others, as we ask ourselves the fundamental religious and scientific questions, what is our place in the universe? What are humans? How do we exist as humans with others and with the rest of the ecosystem? And what are we called to do with this earth? How should we be with the interdependent web of all life? We are invited in this moment to bear witness to the actual laws of science, which draw us out of our individualism and supremacy systems and towards that interdependent web. In the national conversation about racism, I saw a post on Facebook that said, "It shouldn't have to happen to you to matter to you." And I think this is the fundamental crux of what it means for us to be humans who are unbecoming who we aren't. To shed some of those deep beliefs about brutality and competition and instead kneel before the earth and ask, "Earth, teach us reverence for life. Earth, teach me to lift my people up. Earth, teach me about the survival of the whole. Earth, teach me to love myself and the soft animal of my body and the bodies of all the flora and fauna. Earth, teach me to value life above all else." Because we all do better when we all do better. We do better when we open ourselves up to the giving and receiving that is the stuff of life. When we engage in the true communion with others, whoever those others are. When we support the life and growth of those who seem to be in competition for resources, knowing that when we give, we receive. When we receive, we give. Remembering above all else that there is more than enough for everyone. Blessed be, and amen.
The August offertory recipient is Ames Pride. Ames Pride was established out of the need to build community for LGBTQIA+ people in Ames, Iowa State University, and the surrounding area. As a community of volunteers who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, asexual, aromantic, or otherwise non-heterosexual, non-cisgender, as well as heterosexual and cisgender allies, Ames Pride strives to do the work that promotes community building among LGBTQIA+ people, that educates the community on issues affecting LGBTQIA+ people, and that facilitates an environment that values the intersectional identities of all people living in and around the city of Ames. Ames Pride is committed to maintaining a community that recognizes and values the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Your generous donation to Ames Pride will support their organization and presentation of Pride Fest, which we celebrate early in September. After the service, please consider going to the UUF Ames webpage, look for the Giving tab, and thank you for your generous donation.
The offertory music today is by Sean Cullen, the director of music at Smooch. He'll be singing You Raise Me Up by Rolf Loveland and Brendan Graham.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up. You raise me up to more than I can be. Can be.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us in our hearts until we are together again.
Low below me, I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing on the ocean I travel.
I apologize for my computer crash. Let me see if I can resume here.
My blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
This week, if you encounter an other, try lifting them up. If you find someone who you feel competition with, try lifting them up, knowing that lifting them lifts you, lifts us. Go in peace.
This fall, we will be celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Ames. So every week we're enjoying some photos from the archives. Please remember to go to uufames.org/give to support the work of our fellowship, as well as this month's offertory recipient, Ames Pride, Black Lives Matter, our partner church in Tortofalva, and other initiatives important to us. Encourage you to stay on after the service for some virtual fellowship so we can get to know each other better. We'll be going into breakout rooms now for some small group conversation and then back into the larger group.